Are you guys ready for a blast from the past? Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Okchief, and I got some cool stuff to show you. Oh my god, I got a couple of packages from my awesome friend, once again, Eric Roth from Toy Galaxy in Duluth, Minnesota. If you guys don't know, he is an awesome friend of mine who lives in Duluth, who is a co-owner of a toy store up in Duluth, and yeah, he's just been knocking it out of the park with the packages. He's been keeping an eye out for me on really cheap, really cool 1995, 96, 90s X-Men toys. If you've been following me on Facebook or on Instagram, you have already seen what this awesome man have sent me. And in these two boxes are what he sent me. So I'm just gonna open her up and show you piece by piece and try and set them up, try and set up the play sets to show you all this 90s goodness. I used to watch the cartoons. I used to read all the comics. I used to buy them almost religiously when I was younger, 11, 12 years old. And going into 13, 14, into my high school years, I would still read the comics because they were that interesting. I loved it. So without further ado, guys, let's just jump into all this nostalgic 90s toys goodness. Okay, guys, first up out the box is Nightcrawler. This guy is awesome. I remember seeing him for the first time in the animated series, how they introduced him, and I always thought it was cool. I love how they go into his backstory and how you find out who his mother was. So yeah, this guy was really cool. All these figures were roughly 50 cents to $1 a piece, so it made it really easy to collect all of these. So I'm going to be showing you each figure with their card back. Fortunately, they all came with their card back, just their card, nothing else, just them and their card, which is awesome. But for the most part, all you will see is their loose figure. Some came with their weapons and some didn't, but that's okay, guys. That's quite all right. So as you can see, Nightcrawler came with two suction cups, one on his knee and one on his left hand there. And if I rotate him just a little, you'll be able to see his long tail there. That looks really awesome, guys. So yeah, let's get on to the next figure. Okay, next up is Sauron. Sounds a lot like the Lord of the Rings character Sauron, the White Wizard. But yeah, I think this guy's name is a little bit playing off of that, since I think it's spelled the same. I'm not 100% sure on that. But this guy is a villain. He's from Mr. Sinister's team, I believe, if I can remember correctly. And yeah, this guy was awesome. His arms are actually his wings. They're all attached. It's all one piece. And he himself also, like Nightcrawler, has a really cool tail. Check it out. Next up, we have Light Up Optic Blast Cyclops. Now, he has a backpack that makes him turn on the lights in his laser, in his eyes, which is really cool, but I don't think this one works in particular because I switched out the batteries in his backpack. He has a backpack where if you push this button right there, it makes his eyes light up. But I tried several different batteries, and I don't think it's the batteries. I think it's the actual pack itself. But he does look cool nonetheless. Next, we have Gideon. Now, I don't really understand or who this character was, since I don't really quite remember him from the series. But he looks to be a total badass. I mean, he's got his Uzi, he's got his knife, he's got his sword in his suitcase in case he needs it. Now, I know he's a villain. I just don't know much about this character and or what team he really belongs on. But I do remember seeing this guy coming across him as I was younger, but not really knowing who he was particularly. Next, we have knife-thrusting Wolverine. Now, again, I don't really recognize this suit and armor or all the knife. Why would he have... This is kind of contradictory to his claws. Like, why is he knife thrusting and has an assortment of knives if he has built-in claws? This is kind of contradicting the character, but hey, he looks cool nonetheless with his assortment of knives. Next up, we have Rocket Firing Action 3rd Edition Cable. Now, Cable's a really cool character. If you got to see Deadpool, the latest Deadpool movie, he was in that movie. Josh Brolin, who played Thanos, Oh my god, he did an awesome representation of Cable. I loved him. A lot of people didn't, but I did. I don't care. He was awesome because he's a great actor. He can just delve into any role that he's put in. He's awesome. He can be a villain or a superhero. He's just great. And Cable is, if you didn't know, the son of Scott and Jean in the future. So yeah, there's a little tidbit information for you there. Next up, we have a X-Men called Banshee. He has a quite unique power to where he screams really loud out of his mouth, and those sound waves actually carry his body, and he wears this cape type thing to let him glide through the air as if he was flying. And I thought that was a really unique power to have, and it was best showcased in one of the more recent X-Men movies where he was depicted by a young actor, and it honestly I didn't know how they were going to pull it off, but they did. It came out pretty good, and that's who this character is. He's a oddball X-Man. Okay, next up we have Mr. Sinister. Now his name totally reflects his demeanor. He is sinister for the most part. This guy is super evil. He has his own group just like Magneto does. And it consists of like Sauron and I can't remember the other characters' names, but he is a very meany guy. And what's really cool is that in some of the Marvel movies that have come out recently are throwing little tiny hints that Mr. Sinister is going to be coming out. I'm guessing maybe making a cameo or maybe even as a full-fledged villain in an upcoming movie, because they keep dropping hints of his background, himself, his company, whatever it is that he does. And I thought that was really cool that they're going to do that. If they can just fit him into a movie, that would be awesome, because in the series himself he was very bad. Okay, next up we have the X-Men called Forge. Now he was only depicted on the series like once or twice, if I can remember correctly, and it had to do with time traveling. And he is a weapons expert, if I can remember correctly. Oh, that's stupid. 3, 2, 1. Okay, next up we have the X-Men called Forge. Now he was only depicted in a few episodes in the animated series, and it had to do with time traveling. And he was from what the card says, a very brilliant high-tech weapons inventor. Now, I can't really recall that all too much. I just remember the episode having to do with time travel, and it had to do with Cable, if I can remember correctly. But yeah, that's pretty much all I know of Forge. Ooh, next we have Weapon X, which is obviously Wolverine. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is how he came out of that chamber where they pumped him full of adamantium to make his bones indestructible. And that was all done through our government. And, or not our government, that was Canada. Canada did that. And if you can see his mask, I tried putting on the mask, but it looked like someone stepped on the mask, and I cannot put it on. It just will not fit over all that luscious hair of his iconic Wolverine hair. I can't get the mask over that. So it would have been awesome had I could been able to do that, but yeah, no dice on that. But other than that, he looks amazing. There's a lot of depictions of him coming out of that water coffin that he was in, where they stuck him full of needles and they filled him up full of adamantium. It's in one of the movies. He looks awesome when he does it. He kills everything in sight. And yeah, they made a figure out of that. Oh, now this guy is one of my all-time favorite characters, and I loved how they gave him a little small backstory in one of the movies where they show him like being caught in the Holocaust, and it was awesome. It was just awesome. And if you guys didn't know, I'm sure you have, but if you've been living under a rock and you didn't know his powers, he controls metals. He's magnetic. That's why, ergo, his name is Magneto. And just one of the most all-around awesome OP characters there are in the Marvel universe. And he is Charles Xavier's one of his best friends. So yeah, that this guy is one of the most iconic Marvel characters there are. and I love him to death. Now, growing up, this guy from the X-Men, Gambit, was like my all-time favorite character to draw. I don't know why, but I was just so enamored with the way they drew him and the way I saw him depicted in comic books that I just had to draw him, and I did. I drew him several times. Every time I was bored or just wanted to practice drawing, this is who I would practice drawing. I loved everything about the character. He had a weird power where he could literally power up anything he touches. His favorite, of course, was a deck of cards. He would love to power up cards and throw them and they would explode, but that was the common misconception was that he can only do cards, but no, he could pretty much grab anything and charge it up. His favorite was just cards. And he was also a master with the bow staff, not depicted here because he doesn't have his weapon here, but for the most part, he kicked ass with that bow staff. It would like retract in and out, which was really cool. I love that about him. And he was in love with Rogue in the animated series anyway. He absolutely loved Rogue. I know in the movies, they have Rogue falling in love with Iceman, but in the animated 93 series, he was Rogue's main squeeze. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and lie and tell you I know all about Cannonball. I don't really remember him from the series. I never read him in any comic books, so I'm not very familiar with his powers or what he does. But he comes with this launch pad that he has on his back. And as you can see in his card, you set him on that like launch pad and you just push the button and he gets projected upwards. Now, that ain't much of a power. I hope it's more than that than what is being depicted here. But for the most part, I have no idea who he is or who he's affiliated with or any of that. Another version of Magneto, and this guy actually comes with magnets. So the other one didn't really depict how his powers worked. This figure actually shows you how his powers work. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that his accessories are his weapons, but they just show you they have little metal pieces in them. They're just here to show you that they put a magnet on his chest so that stuff sticks to him to show you that he's magnetic in power, which I thought was a really cool gimmick. It really shows in toy form his power. So I thought this figure was really cool, aside from the other Magneto I showed you earlier. Now, this guy was an awesome character. Now, his original name wasn't Archangel. I believe it was just Angel. I'm not 100% sure on that. But if you remember from the cartoon, he had a normal... Actually, he came out in the movie as well as having normal angel wings. But in the movie, he wound up cutting off his wings. But in the animation series, he wound up following Apocalypse. And Apocalypse made him the leader of his 4 horsemen. And he turned him into this monstrosity. His wings became metal. And if you remember in the cartoon, he would spread out his wings and these metal knives would come flying out of his wings. Now, the way they depicted that on this toy is to have his little wings have these little missiles. I don't know if you can see that focused well, but these little missiles just go in these little wing slots here. And that's supposed to project the flying knives, I guess, from the series anyway, just try and show you that his wings can throw something, just not what you think he might want to throw. Now, this is weird. Now, this is a weird one because these wings are white, and I'll show you next this figure carded, and his wings are gray. So let me show you that. So here he is carded, and like I told you before, his wings are gray instead of white, which is really weird. They're the same figure, just different colored wings. Now, I wonder what that was all about. I have no idea. But here he is carded. Next up, we have Sabretooth. This guy is Wolverine's arch nemesis. These two do not get along in a room together. Don't ever invite these two to the same wedding because they will start up a tussle. Now, I love Wolverine. I love the way he used to kick ass. There's been several depictions of him in different movies. I think I don't want to say it's the best depiction of him, but the first X-Men movie where they showed him with Magneto kind of depicts him the right way. The funny one was where he was depicted with short hair and just like mutton chops. That was kind of funny. But he himself also has healing factors, just like what's his name, Wolverine. Same thing. That's why whenever you see him get cut up and stabbed up by Wolverine, he also can heal himself. I don't think it's to the point of Wolverine's regenerative healing factors, but it's up there too, since he can go toe to toe a lot with Wolverine. So he has a really cool. I think all he has really is his nails. That's his. Aside from his regenerative powers, he has really long claws. Scary. On another note, he does take battle damage. You see his stomach here? If Wolverine was to slash him in the stomach, boom, he now has claw marks as battle damage. Now that's a cool feature to have on this guy, because you know he's going to be fighting Wolverine at some point. Next up, we have a character called Shatterstar. Now I'm not very familiar with this character as well. I do know they did show him in Deadpool 2. He got killed off right away, and supposedly this guy's a really strong Marvel character, but they just killed. I think that was the joke, that he is a powerful mutant, and the joke was that he can get killed. He got killed off right away in Deadpool 2. I thought that was funny, and I don't know his affiliation. I don't know what team he belongs to. I don't know any of that, but I thought it was funny how they made him die really fast in Deadpool 2. Now, this is the first edition of Cable that you can find. I showed you his third edition. This is his first edition. And I can tell you a little story about this character, or this figure in particular. Well, not this one in particular, but one just like him. Back in '93, I had gone to Mexico, and I asked my cousin to take me to a flea market type of deal down there. And I found this character on card just like this. Well, he was on his card, actually. And I bought him. The only X-Men character I ever bought when I was younger was in Mexico, and it was this exact same figure from Cable, the first edition. And I always remember this one. So when I saw him in the box, I'm like, I had this Cable. So cool. I don't have him anymore, from my childhood one. But now I have a new one with his weapon, because I lost his weapon almost immediately in Mexico. So I just wound up with the figure, bringing back the figure. But yeah, now I have him complete, and it's so much fun seeing him. Just, oh God, he brings back so many memories. It's awesome. So I'm not, again, very familiar with this character. I do remember him from the animated series. He only came out in a couple of episodes, and that was only because they did a collaboration with X-Force. X-Force, if you don't know, is the equivalent of X-Men, but in Canada, they made a team called X-Force. And this guy was on it. He was part of one of the members. And I believe in that episode, he turned giant. I'm not 100% sure on that. But this particular figure does a Thunder Punch action. And unfortunately, he doesn't do it here because I think it's broken. But that doesn't stop him from looking hella cool. Now, she, by far, was one of my favorite all-time X-Men characters, because I just absolutely loved her on the show. She was, and when they showed her backstory, where she came from, I had no idea she was African, which just blew my mind. I don't know, it was awesome just finding out her backstory, and her powers were just incredible. Halle Berry did a really bad job of depicting Storm in those trilogies of X-Men movies, but what are you gonna do? She did not sound that accent that Storm had when you saw her in the animated series. Just it was the character, but Halle Berry didn't even attempt to do any type of accent or any of that. Didn't depict her very well. I just love her powers. The fact that she can control the weather, who can do that but God, And she's just standing there like a badass, like Zeus holding a thunderbolt. You just don't mess with her. So next up, we have the diabolical villain, Apocalypse. Now, this guy was the center of attention in one of the X-Men movies. And I don't know if they did a good job of depicting how evil he really, really is. They sure as heck didn't show all of his cool powers. I mean, the way he would just manipulate himself to being whatever he wanted, and the way he grew really tall. Now, this figure does not capture that. He's really tiny. Now, you want to see something funny? You just want to see something really funny? You know how he used to grow really tall from a human size to 10-story building size. This is how they depict this with the character. Check it out. There. Now he's tall. Now he's skyscraper sized. It's so dumb. Oh my god, it's so dumb. It's just the goofiest thing ever. And his weapon is even goofier because he can't hold this. There's no way he can hold this weapon. In no way, shape, or form can he hold this weapon. And this weapon has like a missile that just flies off if you just throw that. But it's just such a dumb depiction of his character in this toy form. Now, the best villain to come out of Russia is Omega Red. Now, I love seeing this character in the animated series. He was really strong, really cool. And as you can see in this video here, you can see that I am missing his tentacles, his famous, I think they were like electric tentacles that came out of his wrists. And I am missing those. I'm going to try and track those down to make him look even cooler. But he was depicted in one of the movies, Iron Man 2. I believe he some sort of representation of him where they had the villain. I can't remember the actor's name. Rourke. I'm not sure, but he depicted Omega, their version of Omega Red. Same thing, electrical tentacles. He even sounded Russian. So just the all around badass character, and his ponytail, it comes off. Sucks to be him. He has a fake man bun. Now, this depiction of Apocalypse is way cooler than his counterpart that I showed earlier. The first edition one. I don't know what edition this one is, but I'm glad they made this one. Look how much bulkier he looks. And he comes with his arm attachments, just like I mentioned in the first one I showed you. This one actually can remove his right arm or left arm, and you can put on the claw or his drill. So I think that's really cool. See, you can actually put it in the arm socket. You just take out, the arms are really easy to take off. They just pop right off, and then you just pop these in place of those in the arm socket. And then he can have, like I said, he can manipulate his body to be anything. And that's what one of his cool powers were, that he can turn into anything. He can be giant if he wanted to. I just love that about Apocalypse, and they really got it right on this version of his character in his figure form. Next up, we have the anti-hero Punisher. I mean, he's a hero, but not really, because he kills, and that's why a lot of heroes don't like him, because he is a killing machine, guys. He tries to make all villains look like his shirt. This guy does kill and ask questions later. Now, this is a talking version. Unfortunately, I don't have his backpack to make him talk, which kind of sucks, but I'm sure it's an easy fix. I'm sure I can track down his backpack on eBay, but for the most part, this is a really cool character to have. Okay, next up, we have Talking Hulk. Now, unfortunately, I'm missing his bendy pipe there, but he did come with his talking backpack. That makes him top heavy, so he has to kind of stand in this arch, because if I stand him straight up, he'll just fall back like that because his back is really heavy. Now, I'm just going to make you hear what his voice box says. You can barely make out what he says, but it does still work. I'm thinking he's saying Hulk smash there, but I'm not sure. Wow, that sounds horrible. But yeah, at least he still has his backpack, which is, I think, is cool. Okay, so unfortunately, the next set of figures I'm going to show you, I don't have cards for, but that doesn't make them any less cool. Now, here we have Iceman, who travels around on his ice like a skateboard, and I love the way they made him transparent. You can see right through him like he's an ice block, which is really cool. I love that in the series, or I don't like that in the series, they made him and Rogue a love item. That's kind of weird, kind of just weird. Oh, I guess because they were both, they depicted them as teenagers, and they're both, you know, teenage love, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, it was pretty cool to see him in the movies. I didn't think they were going to find a way to put him in there, but they did. And this figure really is cool, the way they gave him a little skateboard there. Next up, we have the leader of the X-Men, or I don't want to say leader, I want to say owner of the X-Men. Charles Xavier, or AKA Professor X. Now he has this really cool wheelchair where he can just do all kinds of running of the base right from his seat. Now they do close. His little control panels close up. I just wanted to show you that real quick. He has a really cool, most modern wheelchair I've ever seen. And his best friend, like I told you before, was Magneto. They have a really cool backstory. And this guy depicted by was it Picard? Oh God, I can't remember his name. Patrick Stewart. Oh God, I love him. He's a world treasure. Not just whatever country he's from, but he is a world treasure, not just the UK or US, whichever one he's from. Treasure. He is the most awesome voice character. He is just an all-around awesome actor, and I love him to death, along with Ian McKellen, because he is an awesome Magneto and a awesome Gandalf. Now, every time someone sees Juggernaut, you always revert back to that time when you saw him breaking through those walls, running after Kitty Pryde, and he goes, "I'm the Juggernaut!" Expletive add here. So everyone, Vinny, that was his name. He portrayed Juggernaut in the first X-Men movies, which wasn't a bad depiction. It just, he wasn't as muscular as he should have been. Now, he did come out again in Deadpool 2, and oddly enough, he looked great in that one because they depicted him really big, the way he's supposed to look like. And you'll never guess who voiced him. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, in that movie, voiced the CGI character of Juggernaut in that movie. And if you also didn't know, another little fun fact for those who didn't know, he is Charles Xavier's evil stepbrother, I should say. And they don't get along. They don't get along at all. One of my top 5 favorite characters of the X-Men is Beast. Now, I did think that him being played by Fraser, or I can't remember his real name at the moment, but Fraser played him, and I absolutely love Fraser. I do. I don't remember his real name, but Fraser played Fraser Crane on a sitcom show where he's a really smarty patootie psychiatrist on the air on a radio show, and it kind of came off that way when he played Beast in the first X-Men movie. It was just weird seeing him depicted as Beast with that makeup. It was just really funny, but he was still, I think they did it because he sounds so smart. But yeah, this guy is an awesome character. Aside from being super, super strong and agile, he is ridiculously smart. I love Beast. Next up, we have MODOK, which is an alien villain. He is missing this right side, whatever it is, because this actually comes off. So I know that he's missing the other one on this side. I don't know if he's missing something in his forehead, but his head is rubbery. So I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe water goes in there and it sprouts out water. I have no clue. But he is a tiny, oh, and he has this little pump action thing in the back, which makes me believe that he does spout out some kind of water, some jet-propelled water coming out of his forehead or something. I'm not really 100% sure. But MODOK is an evil alien villain. He's a wimp when he's confronted by the X-Men, but alone he can do some real damage plotting because he's really smart as well. And lastly, for all the figures that came in that box is the Blob. Now, if you guys remember, he was I can't remember the actor's name, but he was kind of accurately depicted in the movie X-Men. I can't remember the name of the movie X-Men that he came out in, but him and Wolverine were sparring in a boxing match, and Wolverine kicked his ass, as one would imagine he would. And I believe his name is Dukes, his real name, but he became the Blob. I don't know how his backstory is. I don't really remember his backstory, but he is literally unkillable. Like, he can't penetrate his like, nothing can penetrate this guy. He's all blob. Like, he just swallows up. If you were to try and punch him, he just swallows your hand. Nothing hurts this guy. I thought he was a really cool villain. The Brotherhood of Evil, that's where this guy's from. He's from one of Magneto's group, and he is an awesome villain. All right, everyone, the part of the video a lot of you guys were waiting for, the playsets. Now, I got lucky on this one. Like I said, my friend Eric Roth was at a toy store or a toy show in Duluth, Minnesota, and he came across a guy who had a bunch, and I mean over 20 of these sealed X-Men Sentinels. And I could show you right off the bat that, well, he opened it just to make sure everything was in there, but it was sealed. But if you open her up, you can see that he's still like in his Ziploc bag, and he's still zip tied to the cardboard. But before we get to him, I want to show you guys the box. Oh, the box art is just amazing, guys. Check this out. Look at that Sentinel right on the front cover there. Now, as you can see, he's got a couple play action features there. He's got, he can encase someone. He can trap someone in his chest. He's got a, what is that? Some kind of claw, it says he's got there to capture some of the X-Men. And as you can see, there's his feet just go like rockets. They go zooming out, and he's 14 inches tall. If you guys remember this Sentinel from the movie, there was a movie where it started off where they were in the danger room, and Storm and Wolverine were fighting. Well, all of them were, but the way Colossus threw Wolverine to kill the head. Oh, I thought that was the most awesome thing ever. Now you can see some more of the figures in the back. I'm missing a lot of these figures. And there goes the Black Jet. Well, I know I showed the Black Jet in an earlier video, but I might as well put them. I didn't show it off with characters in it, so I just might as well show it off again. So if you guys give me a second. Oh, I love that animation. Look at that animation. If you guys give me a second, let me take the Sentinel out of its packaging, and I'll give you a closer look at how it looks and how it plays. Okay, here's a quick look at him out of the box. For those of you trying to piece him back together in his original packaging, this is how he looks like. Untouched, undamaged. I just took off his feet, which are right here. I'm guessing since these buttons down here look like they push in, these look like they're going to propel these out like rockets. So, oh, and here are the stickers never before put on. I'm going to put these on. Here is a, what is this? A comic book, or, oh, here goes a little collector's booklet to collect all the characters. And that looks like a bunch of danger rooms. Is that danger rooms? I don't know what that is. And then the instructions on how to piece them together and where the stickers go. Look at that. Oh, that is neat. Look at all the actions he's got going on. Oh, and here are some more stickers. So let's go ahead and get him put together, and I'll show you here in a second. Okay, everyone, there he is in all his glory. He has been put his stickers, and I did equip him with some X-Men to capture. Now I just want to go over some of his features. First off, let's start off with his shoes. They are rocket propelled boots down here. As you can see here, all you have to do is press his knee caps and they go launching at you. I don't know what purpose this serves, but as you can see, there was a sticker that filled in that purple gap there. So that was really cool. And just to show you this, just to not lose it though. There it goes. So there's that. I think I can just still have him standing with one. Yeah, perfect. So that's one of the features, rocket propelled boots. Another feature he has is his rocket propelled fist. Now he has this little knob there in the back, a little trigger, to which I don't want to. Well, there goes that feature. And yeah, if you remember from the cartoon, he does that as well. He has a rocket propelled fist. And then on this arm, he has a grappling hook to grab most, he grabs most X-Men or mutants, not just X-Men, when he captures them. And then he can propel them back up. Well, it's supposed to, but remember, this is new old stock. This is 20-something years old. And there you go, just needs a little help there. So once he captures them, he can now then put him in prison inside of him. So the way to activate his chest is pushing his head back. Just tilt his head back. And there goes that part. And as you can already see, I have Punisher captured inside the Sentinel because he was being naughty. He was just killing too many people. So, and also behind him, you can see I put a sticker on his chest area there, which makes him look really cool. So it's not just a bland purple base back there. And that's pretty much it to the playset. I mean, aside from looking hella cool, he will display awesome. Looking at him like this looks like he took a lot of damage. Like he just went through hell fighting the X-Men. But I love this playset nonetheless. Let's get to the next one. Okay, next up we have the X-Men Blackbird jet. Now I know I showcased this in a previous video, but I just wanted to show you it again with characters inside or figures. I didn't show it off with figures because I didn't have any figures at the time, but now I do. So here is the black jet already set to fly off into a mission. And now I just wanted to show you how it looks with the command as a command center, but with figures inside. So let's go ahead and open her up and fill her with some figures. Now this is what the Blackbird jet is supposed to look like when you were a kid. Now I bet most kids didn't have all the figures that went with this playsets or enough X-Men to fill up the playset, but I do. Everyone in here is an awesome X-Men. So at the command center, we've got Cyclops posted up, ready to give any order. And if you can see, he's looking at his huge display on all the stuff going on around them. At the back, we have Beast ready to launch any kind of missiles that he needs to. And at the right of him, we have Gambit in whatever vehicle thing that is. I don't know what purpose it serves, but if anything else, it serves as a good place to sit. And then Banshee, we have over in the little rover. I like to look at it as just a rover because it can't fly. He can fly, but the rover can't fly. It's just a little rover that drives him around like a little golf cart. And then, of course, we have our Professor X, Charles Xavier, commanding the commandos, commanding everyone in command. He's the commander. So, yeah, there is the playset that you want to see on the shelf. That's how you want to display it. Just X-Men doing what they do, X-Men stuff. This looks so freaking cool. I love it. Okay, next up we have the X-Men Danger Room. Now, a lot of you will remember this Danger Room as it is a like hologram room where you can go in and practice to your heart's content. This is where Wolverine let out most of his rage because he can just go in there and just blow stuff up. He don't care. You don't have to care. Not when you're in the Danger Room. You can just go ballistic. You can go berserk if you wanted to. So let's just go ahead and take a closer look at this awesome box. There's not much to the playset, guys. But man, this thing is still cool nonetheless. The fact that they made a type of Danger Room, and this one's called Wolverine Combat Cave. Now here's a little depiction of what we're going to look at firsthand here in a second. But I also wanted to show you guys something really cool, something so nostalgic. Look at that old school Toys R Us sticker. Oh my God. That orange sticker brings back so many memories to a lot of us kids from the 80s and the 90s. That's what we wanted to see on our toy boxes, was that price sticker, because you knew you got it from Toys R Us. So here we have the back of the box. Just a little quick depiction of what we're about to see. So let me go ahead and set this up, because again, this stuff is all new. It's never been opened. As you can see, the plastic's still around on a lot of the stuff, so I've got to set this up. So give me a second. So here's what it looks like coming out of the box for you completionists out there who ever come to acquire one of these and want to put it back in the box. This is how it looks like coming out of the box, brand new. So you can piece yours together back in the box just like this. Okay, so this thing looks a lot cooler than the cover of the box. I like the way it displays. It's got a really cool little shelf display going on right now. It looks really cool. Now, I know I don't have the original Wolverine figure that's supposed to go on there, but I do have a figure of Wolverine nonetheless. It's Weapon X. But let's go ahead and show you some of the features from this awesome little playset. So first off the bat, you notice that there's a platform here for Wolverine to step on. He's got the pegs underneath his feet that lock him in, but it's not very good because it's not the original figure that's supposed to go on there. So you can turn this knob here, and that turns Wolverine from right to left. Like I said, it's not the original figure, so it's going to be kind of hard to get him to do what I want him to do, but that does turn him right to left. This swivels him forwards and backwards. So that makes him go forward, or this makes him move forwards and backwards. This swivels him. And as you can see, some of the features in the back here. If Wolverine punches this little hole here, that makes the wall break, which is really cool. Right behind him, if he turns around and he clocks Magneto in the stomach, his stomach blows open. And then on this side, you have what seems to be some kind of oh, I don't know what the heck this is, to tell you the truth. But let's have him face it. And yeah, that's as far as the Danger Room goes. We have a ball and chain. We got a saw. We got some kind of spike thing there and a knife. And yeah, it looks pretty menacing if you're facing him. But I don't think he can get that close to it. Oh, yeah, he can actually. And it can hurt him if he stands close enough. But yeah, that's pretty much all I don't know how much fun you could have had as a kid playing with this because it's pretty simple, but this is an awesome collector's piece. I love showing this off on the shelf. It's going to look amazing. Let's get to the last playset, everyone. And now down to my last playset to show you. This is the last of it all. And let's get right to it. Here we have X-Men Danger Room, and it's called the Cyclops Light Force Arena. Now this Danger Room is set for Cyclops. And let's just go ahead and take a closer look at the box. Now look, this is what we are going to expect from that playset. We have a perfect hit, activates, collapsed stone wall, swing away enemy target, and exploding steel box. Now those are the play features that we are going to be looking forward to when I open up this set. Now look at that. Oh, I don't have that Cyclops, but I do have a Cyclops nonetheless. And there goes some of the battle features that we'll show you. I am missing from the set, however, the two, what are they? Some kind of motorcycle. We got a Wolverine Mutant Cycle and Magneto Magnetron. I'm going to be keeping an eye out for those because those are the two last vehicles in the set. I'm not really worried about these costumes over here. I'm not really looking to collect that, but I do want the play sets and the vehicles, and I'm down to chasing down the vehicles in box preferably, so I'm going to be looking out for that. So let's go ahead and open up this bad boy and show you what's inside. So for those completionists out there to want to know how this all went into the packaging, if you ever come across a Danger Room yourself and you want to know how to put it back together nice and neat in the box, this is how it comes. Original. Nothing has been taken out, so now I'm going to put it together. Okay, everyone, and finally the last Danger Room, Cyclops Arena. Now, this took a little bit for me to figure out on how to actually get the playset to play, like how to trigger everything, right? So I figured it out. It only took me a couple minutes, but it was a little puzzle. And as you can see, this is his Danger Room. We've got a set of blocks back there, a wall. We've got Magneto there in the background. And then we've got this steel block of some sort. So I have Cyclops here, but the problem is you won't be able to see what's going on with him in front of there, because he's got a peg right here where he sits. So this is how this works. It took me a little bit to figure this out. So if you want to break the wall, you face the platform towards the wall, right? So then there's this little trigger here that you push, and that makes the wall collapse. It's supposed to collapse. Now, if you want to trigger Magneto, you face him, and there you trigger Magneto there. And then finally, lastly, the last trigger should trigger this box here. Boom. So that's the place. Oh my god, that's the playset, everyone. Oh god. Now this isn't the Cyclops that goes here because the pegs just do not work. Now I got another indication to help you is that there's an arrow here at the bottom of the platform. So whichever one it is that you want to interact with, that's the one you point to. And that's how I figured it out. So, but let me see if I can try and see if I can get Cyclops to just stand there. And there he is. Boom. So then you just reset all the triggers. I'm not about to build that wall. I guess I can build that wall. It's really easy. So you just set back the trap. See, you set back the trap, and then you build the wall back up. It's really easy. But they don't stay in place. That's the problem. Because they're ready to get knocked over. And any little thing will knock them over, unfortunately. And there you have it. There is Cyclops. Let's see if we can get him to stand without knocking anything over. It just doesn't look like it will. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's really hard to get him to stand in there. But this is his arena. Oh, God, would you just stand up? That's his arena nonetheless. Check it out. Oh, he looks so cool. This looks great on the shelf, everyone. Trust me. This looks amazing. Well, there you have it, guys. This is everything my awesome friend Eric Roth from Toy Galaxy in Duluth, Minnesota sent me. Thank you so much for keeping an eye out on all this stuff on the cheap as well, my friend Eric Roth. This is so awesome. You don't know how happy I am to have all this awesome 90s goodness. I used to, like I said earlier, I used to watch and read all their comics, and just having these all here in one fell swoop. I mean, there's way more to go, but for the most part, we have a good chunk of the library. I mean, with the exception of a couple of vehicles and quite a few more figures, but for the most part, I'm happy with what I have. And my awesome friend Eric is still on the lookout for some more figures that I'm missing. So we'll be looking out for that video coming up whenever he finds those, and I'll be doing another video on that. So guys, if you like this video, let me know if you want to see more down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. This is Okchief. Peace out, y'all.